Good day, everyone. Here is my synthesis on the 5 related articles on science education. In my mini research, I will be studying on spiral progression approach. The first research article is titled Spiral Progression Approach in Teaching Science and the Performance of Learners in District 1 Capiz by Judy B. Dunton and Wilhelmina S. Ko. This is published in the Journal of Physics Conference Series. The Research Gap. Most countries, which are also implementing the spiral progression approach in their educational system, say that the said approach is not applicable to the needs of their learners. However, in the Philippine setting, DepEd sees the spiral progression approach as a solution to our education problem. Limited research has been conducted on assessing the knowledge of teachers on the said curriculum and its proper implementation. The research study aims to determine the extent of implementation of the spiral progression approach in teaching science in terms of technical support, school facilities, and level of readiness. This study utilized survey correlation research design, and the statistical tools used to analyze the data were frequency, percentage, mean, t-test, analysis of variance, and Spear-Monroe. The results and conclusions. The teacher's extent of implementation of the spiral progression approach in teaching science is described as fair. However, in terms of technical support as to monitoring, mentoring, and motivating, the implementation is poor, while in terms of school facilities and level of readiness as to extent of knowledge and trainings, the implementation is fair. The top 5 problems that surfaced in the implementation of the spiral progression approach in teaching science include teaching guide and learning modules have not yet been massively distributed to teachers. The implementation of the said program is not well planned. The lack of qualified teachers, incompetency of teachers due to the lack of academic conferences and seminar workshops, and the time spent for teachers training is not enough. The second research article is titled Assessment of Science Teacher Competence in Teaching Secondary Science with Spiral Progression Approach. The authors are Emily M. Maing, Almira T. Magadang, Munera A. Salik Hairulia, our Dean in the College of Education, Everlita E. Canalita, Fernando R. Sequente Jr., and Chokchai Yon Yong. The research was published in the Journal of Physics Conference Series. The research gap. It is known that there has been a focus upon the students' learning performance, but there has also been an acknowledgement that students' learning was not likely improve markedly until teachers were given the opportunity to further support and develop as well to increase their teaching skills, according to Azuelo A. et al. There are few studies that have examined how well secondary science teachers are able to teach science using a spiral progression approach and the problems they encountered in the implementation.
The research objectives. 1. Assess the competence of secondary science teacher teaching science in spiral progression approach. 2. Determine the in terms of knowledge of subject matter, teaching strategies, personality traits, and teaching approaches.
Another objective is to identify the problems encountered by the science teacher using spiral progression approach. And lastly, to determine the significant correlation between the competencies of science teachers and their profile. The study employed a survey correlation research design, and the study used questionnaire as methodology and utilized the frequency distribution, correlation, coefficient, and regression analysis method. As to the results and conclusions, the results showed that the profile of the respondents, specifically age, tenure, and year in teaching science and salary grade are correlated with science teachers' competence in knowledge of subject matter. The result also showed that aside from age and tenure, rank or position of the respondents is also correlated with the teaching strategies. The length of service correlates only with the personality traits of the respondents, and civil status, years in teaching, highest educational attainment correlates with the respondent's teaching approach. The third research article is titled Teaching Chemistry in a Spiral Progression Approach, Lessons from the Science Teachers in the Philippines, written by Orbi, Espinosa, and Datucan, published in the Australian Journal of Teacher Education. The research gap. The difficulty science instructors face in implementing the K-12 curriculum's spiral development of material, pedagogy, and evaluation are only partially documented by research. This study explored the experiences encountered by these science teachers who are teaching chemistry in the K-12 curriculum about the spiraling content, pedagogy, and assessment. This study also identified the prevailing problems in chemistry instruction and their implications to education. The research design is qualitative exploratory. Interview transcripts were analyzed through inductive thematic analysis. For the results and conclusion, although the spiral progression of the content is learner-centered, advanced, and sophisticated, it is not concentrated and extensive. Chemistry instruction in the K-12 curriculum is dynamic, realistic, and productive, but it requires competent and highly qualified teachers and sufficient facilities. And K-pop, or the knowledge, process, understanding, and performance is a favorable assessment as teachers are now starting to master how to use it. But at the same time, they still find it complicated and problematic. The fourth research article is Analysis of Science Teachers on the Spiral Progression Approach as a Framework for School Program Design, written by Corazon A. Quintas, Dennis G. Caballes, Edgeson M. Gapad, Marian R. Valdez, Chona R. Nesho, and Rotherzon S. Ortega. The research was published in the International Journal of Research in Engineering and Science. The identified research gap. There are limited studies that evaluate science teachers' level or levels of readiness in terms of technical support, monitoring, mentoring, and motivation. School resources and level of readiness in terms of knowledge depth. The research was conducted for the purpose of determining the assessment of science teachers to the spiral progression approach, which will serve as the framework in school program design. The research utilized a mixed method research design. Descriptive correlational research design was used in assessing the relationships between the profile and the science teacher's perception. And for the qualitative side, a thematic approach was used to describe the challenges and the experiences of science teachers in the spiral progression approach. The data analysis. The frequency counts, mean, weighted mean, and standard deviation was used for descriptive data. It also utilized multiple linear regression. And for the qualitative, open coding is carried out by selecting the keywords or phrases used and an actual coding in which categories and codes are linked and connected. Results and conclusion. Technical support has been given through School Learning Action Cell or LAC sessions. A clear lack of books and teaching materials and a moderate shortage of science laboratories, laboratory apparatus and equipment, instructional equipment for demonstration, and other physical facilities. Most teachers had positive spiral progression experiences. However, specialization, experience, and training have been found to have significant relationship with the teacher's level of readiness towards the implementation of the spiral progression approach. The fifth article is on the experiences of science teachers in implementing spiral approach. The author is Lizelle L. Hernandez, and the research was published in the International Journal of Innovative Science and Research Technology. The research gap. There haven't been many research that attempt to document science teachers' experiences using the spiral approach and the coping mechanisms they employ. The research objectives are identify the experiences of science teachers in the implementation of the spiral approach and determine the strategies used by science teachers to cope with the trend and the ways to strengthen the implementation of spiral approach. The research design and data analysis. The study used descriptive quantitative method of research with the questionnaire as its main tool in gathering data. Descriptive statistics was used to analyze the data. On the results and conclusions, teachers find difficulty in connecting topics from one grade to another grade. This is because some of the teachers failed to finish the allotted coverage of the subject. Teachers are giving a valiant effort to adjust by utilizing new innovations, perusing more books and assets, going to workshops, and by teaming up with their co-teachers. And the teachers modify activities to come up with a trend of using spiral approach. The teachers are being resourceful in strengthening the implementation in teaching science. And here is the synthesis. There has been a mismatch in science teacher preparation as the Philippines progresses toward implementing the K-12 curriculum. The K-12 curriculum, however, mandates that all sciences be taught using a spiral progression approach. The responsibility of teaching all the sciences in 1 year is now placed on science teachers who graduated with specialized training in teaching general science, biology, chemistry, and physics. Connecting concepts from one grade to another is challenging for teachers. This is because some of the teachers failed to finish the allotted coverage of the content. As a result, before introducing new topics, teachers will need to review or refer back to the students' prior understanding. However, they are making a determined attempt to adapt to it by employing new technologies, reading more resources and books, attending workshops, and working with other educators who share their philosophy. The teachers adapt activities to accommodate the spiral approach trend. The teachers are creative in their efforts to improve the application of teaching science, according to Hernandez. Orbe, Espinosa, and Datucan 2018 stated that while the content's spiral progression is learner-centered, advanced, and sophisticated, it is not concentrated and extensive. For a successful implementation, competent and highly qualified teachers as well as adequate facilities are required. Specialization, experience, and training all have a substantial impact on the teacher's readiness to utilize the spiral progression approach or strategy, is according to Quintos et al. The extent to which teachers are using the spiral progression approach to teach science is fair. However, the implementation is poor in terms of the technical support for monitoring, mentoring, and motivating. Whereas the implementation is fair in terms of school facilities and level of readiness as to extent of knowledge and trainings. That's according to Dunton and Co. in 2019. Dunton and Co. identified 5 issues that arose during the adoption of the spiral progression approach in science instruction. These include the teaching guide and learning modules that have not yet been widely distributed to teachers. The program's implementation is said to be not well planned, a lack of qualified teachers, the teacher incompetence due to a lack of academic conferences and seminar workshops, and insufficient time spent on teacher training. The same problem surfaced in the study conducted by Maing et al. In 2019, which they believed to be a result of curriculum changes. Moreover, for teachers to operate well in the new curriculum, they require more equipment, enough instructional materials, and in-service training. This is because they are adjusting to the new curriculum. And that ends my synthesis on the 5 research articles related to my chosen topic on spiral progression approach. Thank you.